Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. Follow us on Twitter at Boink Studios and check out our Facebook page where you can see all of our projects, past, present, and future. And now, on with the show.
This is Daddy's show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to the program. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and you are listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. This is episode number 36 of the podcast, and if you are joining us today for the very first time, we will say welcome aboard. If you're coming back for a repeat visit, we say, hey, thanks for tuning in once again. And to all those involved, we will extend to you, as always, the customary laurel and hearty handshake. Thanks for your support. Thanks for reading. Thanks for listening. And hey, thanks for always being there, Doc. Now that we have our usual Blazing Saddles and Tombstone references out of the way, stick around, man. I might come up with some John Wayne next. That'll be fun, huh? How is everybody? I'm Tom. This is my show. It's been a little while since I've come back to talk to you here. Going on almost a month now, I think. Went through practically the entire month of October, minus the first 11 days, without having a convo with yours truly. I'm very sorry about that. Been a kind of a busy guy. Had a lot of stuff going on. You know, things just sort of happen. They come up. I'm very popular. I'm famous. And, you know, when you have a person of my stature, you know, the press is always a problem. Everywhere I go, I've got, you know, the photo guys, they're always there, and the paparazzi, if you will, and signing autographs for the fans and whatnot. Are you buying any of this? Is any of this getting over at all? No, I didn't think so. Well, I thought I'd give it a shot anyway. Listen, it is great to be back, and I will tell you, as I do in the opening of every show, and I'll repeat it right now, in case you were taking a nap or something. Thanks a lot for coming back. As I say all the time to you guys, I do get some great comments. I get some good positive feedback. Sometimes I get negative feedback. Any and all feedback I can possibly get is very much appreciated. Very much so. And I do appreciate everyone that listens. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I do appreciate, well, you know, just give me the time of day, man. You know, there's a lot of people out there you can be listening to. A lot of voices out there with a lot of different opinions, man. There's guys like me in my line of work. Dude, there's like thousands of us out there at this point. I mean, you know, just the fact that I can get a moment of your time, hey, it means a lot. So before we all start going off and hugging and kissing somewhere, let's just go ahead and get down to the show before it gets any more touchy-feely, shall we? This time, the main event is the rise of Bray Wyatt. That's right, folks. The Eater of Worlds, as it were. He is WWE's resident evil cult leader guy in the cool hat and the flowered shirts. But don't let the appearance fool you, folks, because Bray is bringing it. He is he's rising up, as we said before, the rise of Bray Wyatt. Bray is beginning to hit his stride. And we've known it for a long time. If you've listened to the show before, you know that I've been a fan of Bray's work for quite some time. I think he showed huge potential as Husky Harris, but who would have known that he had this in him? But Bray has come a long way since beginning this gimmick down in NXT. And, you know, now that he has come full circle, as it were, and he's starting to get over on the main roster. And he's been there for a while. Don't misunderstand me here. It's not like he just showed up last month or something. The Wyatt family have been there for a while. And Bray's had a lot of opportunities to get over, and he is to a great extent, but nothing anywhere near what he's seeing right now. I will tell you for sure, as you're listening to this program, that this particular episode, as so many of my episodes do, this particular episode comes from columns, plural. There you go, Tom, wake up. From a column and or columns. And in fact, this one comes from about 2 to 2.5. I'm going to say 2 to 2.5 because the 2 are written and there's a half that I'm working on right now. But the websites we're talking about here is, of course, Bleacher Report, my own blog at tomclarkbr.wix.com/blog, and also one that I am currently working on for Sportskeeda. That's the half column right now, if I'm being honest. But this is where I'm coming down from, folks. Bray Wyatt is having a great little run right now, and I think we're just beginning to see sort of the very first stages of it, where we've gotten a taste of it, we've gotten a glimpse of it, but I think that we have yet to see what he's fully capable of. We know that he's good on the mic. In fact, we know on any given day he's the best that company has on the mic. Let's just be honest. When Paul Heyman is not on TV, Bray Wyatt's the guy you want to be listening to because he tells a story. I mean, there's such a thing as telling a story in the ring, obviously, but telling a story on the mic is just as important. And anyone who knows me knows that I appreciate a guy who is good on the stick, and that is Bray Wyatt 110%. And, ever since the days of, CM Punk, Punk's gone, and he took a huge chunk of mic time with him. And other guys have had the opportunity to step up and prove themselves, not just in the ring, but on the mic, of course, because of Punk's departure. And in my estimation, Bray has been one of the guys that has done that because, when Bray was first cutting his teeth on Raw and starting to cut his promos, Punk was still there in full force. And you had Heyman speaking up. And so you had 3 of the best in the business for my money. And now you have Heyman occasionally, unless Brock is busy with his next big feud. But for the most part, you have Bray Wyatt. And I, for one, am not complaining about that at all. This guy is just golden on the microphone. We all know this. But I know what you're saying to me right now, folks. I know what you're getting ready to ask me. You're getting ready to say, Tom, dude, what's up? Tell me where you're coming from on the whole Bray Wyatt thing. Well, dude, I am extremely glad you asked because we're going to go ahead and get down to it right now. The first part of this we're going to get to, actually, is from a column I wrote on October 29th, which is not all that long ago. I mean, come on, man. Cut me some slack here. It's not like it was 2 months ago or something. I'm not that bad, right? Not this time around anyway, okay? But what we're coming from here is, again, on October 29th, this was published on Bleacher. And the title of this particular column, if you would like to go check it out, is Bray Wyatt's renewed rivalry with Undertaker and Kane is good for WWE. And I think the title pretty much says it all. Bray Wyatt is leading the Buzzards, and this time the feast includes both The Undertaker and his storyline brother, Kane. The Brothers of Destruction have been destroyed by the Wyatt family at Hell in a Cell and the Monday Night Raw that followed. Now fans can only wait to see what happens next. Okay, so here's where we're coming down from here, folks. This is a major thing for Bray. I know what you're saying. Bray has already faced both of these guys in the past. He took out Kane. He won that feud, but he did not, of course, beat Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. Had to stop and think there for a second, man. I am getting a bit old, but yes, WrestleMania 31 is what we're talking about. Where, he had an opportunity. He faced off against the Dead Man one-on-one. Of course, he did not win that match. A lot of folks, myself included, feel that maybe that match was a bit rushed. They wanted to get an opponent for Taker that was not Brock Lesnar. So what did they do? They threw Bray Wyatt into the mix. I was never against the match. I'm still not against it right now. I think it needs to happen for sure. But this time around, it's different. There's a different vibe to it. There's a different feel to it. And honestly, if it's me, again, going back to WrestleMania 31, I just don't know if I feel like that match even really needed to happen. I was happy for Bray. I was excited for him because it was like the biggest shot he'd ever had in WWE since he went to the main roster. And I thought that it was good for him losing that match. And you know, that's where a lot of people tend to lose a lot of sleep, is the whole winning and losing thing. And I understand that, because, you know, I'm not one of those guys that gets really mad and upset at a fan if the fan himself is upset about someone losing, you know, because you try to air that out sometimes in debates and discussions and whatnot. And sometimes you'll get hit back in the face with, look, winning and losing doesn't mean anything. You people just need to let that go. Quit talking about it and, you know, get over it and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, I understand where that point of view comes from, but you can't consistently have someone that loses all the time until fans start questioning, why do I even care about this guy anymore? I do believe that there comes a time that eventually, you know, it has to stop. It has to stop, man. I mean, you have to start making an impact. You have to start winning matches. Does it mean you win every one? Of course not. Does it mean you look dominant all the time? Of course not. No, not at all. What it does mean is that you have moments of looking really good in the ring, where you have moments of overcoming your opponent, where fans can look at you and they know when you hit your finisher, that's probably going to be a 3 count. But every time you have a match, you lose. This has been one of the criticisms against Bray, leveled at Bray for a long time. Now, it all falls in the booking. We can all agree on that, yes? Bray Wyatt's not booking his character in his own matches, okay? There's creative that's responsible for that, road agents that produce the matches backstage. So that kind of thing goes down, and it's out of Bray's hands. Could Bray complain? Sure. But here's the thing, folks. There's always a bigger picture. And sometimes we don't see it as fans, and that's okay. And other times, we do see it, and we know it's not working. For anyone inside the business to believe that fans are so dumb or so uneducated or so just internet smart that we don't get it, I think that's a bit naive. And I think the smartest guys in the business, in WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, whatever company you want to talk about, I think the smartest guys within those companies recognize and understand that fans do know quite a bit of what they're talking about. I'm not talking about stuff in the ring. Okay, that's a different animal. If you've never been in the ring, you don't know what these guys are going through physically. Trust me, the ring hurts. It's not a fun day. Getting knocked around and beat up and stomped on. While it's a blast, it can hurt. So don't ever underestimate the power of a guy's size 13 boot coming crashing down on top of your head. It's some fun stuff. But, you know, again, the winning and losing that you come back to. And again, Bray Wyatt, that's really what we're talking about here, man, is his track record of winning and losing. And again, people inside the business, I believe, a good number of them understand that fans are smart and that a lot of times we do have, we got a different perspective. Just like we can have the perspective that they have. It's two entirely different things a lot of times. But when you meet up on the same page, that's when stuff starts to get fun. Okay, that's when it starts to get fun. That's when it's a blast, and that's when you see both sides coming together, a la Daniel Bryan. Okay, when you have the fans had an outcry for Daniel, and WWE said, "Screw it, let's roll with it," and that's what it came down to. Those were fun times for sure. But how does all this apply to Bray Wyatt? Well, he lost to Taker. He loses most feuds he had. And in fact, the last time he won, and I'm not talking about house shows, and I'm not talking about tag matches either, but the last time that he won an actual TV match on WWE programming was Battleground. Back in July, I think it was, against Roman Reigns. And that's a big deal. Because honestly, when you think about that, think about the amount of time you're talking about, man. I mean, we're in November now. July was a while ago. That was the last time that Roman won, a match of that profile. I mean, it is, try to just wrap your head around that for a second. I mean, that's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for me as a writer, because honestly, here's what happened. I got into a discussion online with someone who tried to point out Bray's one-loss record. And I said, you know what? Let me look it up. So I did. Because I honestly couldn't remember. And when I got to it, I said, dude, has it been that long? So I had this moment of clarity when I'm like, oh my God, this guy has a point. He's totally right. And that's really what it came down to for me, was just having the moment to go back, look up the date, and say, you know what, this is crazy. Do I think that Bray's character has been hurt in the long run? I got that question recently in an email. And the question was, Tom, do you believe that Bray Wyatt's character ultimately will fail because that, the creative will not get him booked on any sort of meaningful winning streak? Great question. Very level-headed, very smart. To that, I will answer with this. I think if something does not change for Bray in the long term, he will go down as one of the most entertaining guys that WWE has ever seen, but as a guy who couldn't win a match to save his life. That's not going to help him in the long run. Not at all. It's not going to help him in terms of getting a title. It's not going to help him in terms of becoming a main event player, which I think he's on his way to becoming right now. But he has to start winning matches. The fear here, of course, the irony of all this, of him and the family getting in Kane and Taker's face again and getting those rivalries stirred back up. The irony in all of this is that Bray's probably not going to win these feuds. That's a tough thing to handle. Because again, it does matter. Winning and losing does matter in a lot of ways. Despite what anyone wants to tell you, despite how many times you get criticized for complaining about it, winning and losing does matter. You want to know why? It matters to you, right? It matters to me too. We're the paying customer, okay? No matter what anyone else says, no matter what reaction you may hear live crowds on TV, and I do believe that the live reactions come quite a bit from what we're talking about today, where fans just begin to talk amongst themselves and say, why do you like Bray? Yeah, dude, I love Bray. He's great. Yeah, but dude, Bray loses all the time. Why would I care about that? When you get that sort of mantra repeated over and over and over again, it will start to matter. And I'm not saying it's enough to get people to totally give up on him, but I'm saying at some point, WWE Creative needs to get on stick here and get something happening for Bray, because what he's got happening right now with Taker and Kane is a big deal. Huge, and it's good for WWE, okay? The Eater of Worlds. This is the Eater of Worlds that many have wanted to see for a long time now. The one that WWE promised fans upon his debut. This is the Wyatt who moves with a purpose, the one who has a mysterious agenda and schemes to achieve his goals. The riddles he speaks are more than just promos. They're dark omens of destruction, ones that send shivers down the spine of each fan watching. This is the man who deserves attention because he demands it, because to look away from him is to miss something. He makes the show entertaining, and he makes it look easy. Now, and why is that exactly? Because putting him in this spot is perfect. It has everything to do with the two legends his family laid out in WWE programming. Because though he's been down this road before, as we said, in a rivalry with Kane and Taker on two separate occasions, this is a new start for all involved. Okay, that was then, this is now kind of thing, okay? The truth is, Wyatt needs targets that are as big, as intense as he can be. And there are no better targets than the Brothers of Destruction. Wyatt is eventually going to get to the point, and this is especially true if he starts winning. I hate to say if, but all right, listen, when he starts winning, which I hope is very, very soon. But Wyatt's eventually going to get to the point where the guys he faces in the ring have to be better and better and better. Not just for the sake of him becoming better, because as we all know, the only way you get better is by working guys better than you are, okay? Who have more experience or who just are naturally more gifted or have better psychology in the ring. That's how you improve as a talent, okay? But, for Bray to continue, for Bray to elevate, when the winning begins, and I hope it's very soon, you're going to have to start booking him against guys who can match him, either match his personality or have the perfect counter to it, okay? Matching his personality, we're talking about Taker and Kane. The counter would be Roman Reigns. And that feud ended up very good. By the way, if you've not watched the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, go do it on WWE Network. Trust me, it's worth the price of admission, okay? because the match he had with Roman was so good, dude. It was so good. It was well paced. The psychology of the match was on par. It was by far the best match these two guys have had on TV that I know of. That's on TV. House shows I can't speak to, of course. Which is a real shame because a lot of times house shows you see the best matches that don't ever make it on TV. But the best televised match that I've seen between these two guys was Hell in a Cell. They were on their game, man, 100%. Go watch this match. The crowd was into it. When Roman won, they loved it. The next night, when Roman won the Fatal 4-Way to determine number one contender, guess what? They loved that too. So Roman's on his way. That's a good thing. This means that Bray's on his way as well. I mean, evidently he's done with Roman, at least for the time being. There could be a Survivor Series thing that becomes of all this. Chances are that's going to possibly happen. It's probably going to happen, I should say. But for right now, we don't know that for sure. So we assume that Roman and Bray are done for the time being, which is okay because they wrapped it up perfectly and put a neat little bow on it at Hell in a Cell. And yes, by the way, Bray lost that match too. Spoiler alert. Hope I didn't ruin it for anybody. But I mean, that's the fact. Okay? But as we said, the better he gets, the more he begins to win when it does begin to happen. Bray's opponents need to start matching up to the caliber that he is himself. Wyatt consistently draws comparisons to Taker, specifically, and he has from nearly the beginning. Why is that? Because it's his approach to the game, the nature of his character. The Eater of Worlds inhabits the same dark place as the Dead Man, and it's that shared existence that made fans believe the two were associated with each other. Some have even referred to Wyatt as the Undertaker of his generation. On the surface, it's a logical assumption to make. I'm not saying I'm making it. I've read those headlines. I've been in those discussions. Is Bray Wyatt the new phenom of WWE? I say as long as Undertaker has a breath in his body, he is the phenom of WWE. Bar none. And that's all due respect to Bray. But, and I think Bray would probably agree with that notion as well. But I think that Bray has a world of potential to fill the void that will eventually be left when Taker and or Kane, ride off into the ghostly sunset or take the last ride in the hearse, whatever two dudes from hell do when they retire. But I have no idea. But I think that Bray is more than capable of filling the void left when one of those guys, both those guys, whatever it is, decide it's time to hang up the boots and move on to the next phase. And I think that Bray can not only fill the void, I think can be very successful. And I think Bray is capable of drawing big money. I've always believed that, okay? So understanding that Bray is part of that evil brotherhood is to understand that eventually he will feel the need to dominate because second place won't be good enough for him. Undertaker and Kane are quite simply in the way, okay? And Wyatt must eliminate them if he is to take over the underworld that they all three call home. This is how Bray's character must evolve. It's his natural progression. And to see him succeed proves WWE creative is creative. WWE is creative and still capable of creating stars who can compete with the top guys. Imagine that for a moment. Who would have thunk it? The WWE is still capable of creating stars that can compete with the top guys and eventually become top guys themselves. They don't have enough of that happening right now. And I think that's one of the problems that people have with the product, if I'm being honest, is that they love the veterans. Everyone loves Brock. Everyone loves Taker. And it's all due respect to the guys that paved the way, that are still there, that are still contributing. No one's a charity case here, man. They're still contributing and they're still doing it on a very, very big scale, okay? And that's awesome. But when you spend all of your time focusing on that, and not cultivating the younger talent that you have, guess what's going to happen? Trouble lies ahead. Ask WCW what happens when all you do is focus on your main money guys and you don't take 5 minutes to cultivate, to evolve, to book properly, to do everything in your power to get your younger talent over. WCW didn't care about that. WCW only cared about ratings and only cared about today. WWE, as we know, is an entirely separate company with an entirely different agenda. They care about growing tomorrow. And they should. Let's hope they've not lost sight of that. because I think that's one of the problems that people have, again, that people have with the company right now, is that they're not doing enough today for today's stars. Almost every day on Twitter, you see a discussion about Cesaro and or Dean Ambrose, about why they're not bigger, why they're not doing more, this, that, and the other. And it's all true, man, 100%. So that's what you have to ask yourself, okay? But Bray is being moved in a position. Like on a chessboard, I see Bray being moved in a position, okay? He must reach that level, that top level, and it must happen now, okay? And here it is, folks. We talked about NXT earlier. NXT is providing one talent after another to the main roster, but none of them, with the exception of the Shield, has been able to truly break through to the main event consistently. Think about that for just a moment, man. Think about that. Of all the guys in NXT, and you can't really hold anything against them right now because, for the most part, all the top talents in NXT are still NXT talents. They're not jumping back and forth. Owens did for a bit. But how many guys have broken through to the top tier main event level from NXT besides the Shield? The answer is no one, not on a consistent basis. I'm not talking about one-shots, once or twice a month, or once a month you'll see the main event on Raw, and a couple times a month on SmackDown. I'm not talking about that, okay? Not at all. I'm talking about a consistent basis. Wyatt is in a prime position because there's not a lot of other guys being pushed right now to the top. So why not have Wyatt do it? There's no better time for him to make this move, okay? No one knows how long Undertaker or Kane will continue as active performers in the ring. Eventually, both men will move on from the square circle like we said before, and when they do, a massive hole will be left. To fill that hole, WWE must keep pushing forward with those stars it has. The younger stars, the unproven talents, the guys that are itching for a chance and either can't get it or it's not come to them yet. Bray Wyatt is one of those stars, okay? This renewed rivalry is also a change of pace compared to what fans have seen recently for both the Phenom and the Big Red Machine. Undertaker has been embroiled in this feud with Brock Lesnar. I mean, since Lesnar came back, since Taker came back at Battleground, got Lesnar's face, it's been Katie bar the doors. These two guys have been all over each other. What a great story they told at Hell in a Cell. Again, why are you still trying to argue the Hell in a Cell thing to me, man? Go watch it. I heard someone say the other day that they were disappointed with the crowd reactions. Is that what you're worried about? What about the card itself? Stop complaining, man. It was a good show. Just stop it. Cut it out. Nonsense. Go watch Hell in a Cell. It's well worth your money. $10 a month, WWE Network can't beat it. And if you want to go pay $40 for the pay-per-view, hey, go with God, man. Whatever you want to do. But find a way to watch that match. And Roman versus Bray. You will thank me tomorrow. Trust me. But again, Undertaker versus Brock been going on this whole time. Kane has been mired in a war with Seth Rollins. A lot of people are like, thank God that's over. I'm not saying I'm one of those people. Okay, not at all. I love me some Kane. Love me some Seth. I think they did the absolute best with what they had to work with. I thought their match at Hell in a Cell was solid. It was entertaining. I was perfectly fine with it. Seth won clean for a change. No cheating at all, which kind of sucks because, he is top heel in the company. I expect him to cheat, and I'm good with that. Anybody out there that says heel shouldn't be cheating, heel should be winning cleanly. Quite frankly, you have no idea what you're talking about, okay? Heel should be cheating. That's what separates heel from the babyface. It's not just language and body language and gestures and being crude to the crowd. It's about how you win and lose matches, man. I mean, that's part and parcel of being a heel. A lot of guys have forgotten that. That's a shame right now, I'm going to tell you. A real shame. Seth is one of the guys that's not forgotten and is booked appropriately all the time. He went over on Kane clean, and I'm good with that. But, he needs to get back to cheating now as much as possible, which he really has done, so we're good there. But here it is. While Survivor Series, coming up on November 22nd, is going to be big and it can be a major main event, it needs as much star power as possible, which means Taker and Kane are probably going to be back. Okay, and if we're talking about a traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series style match, you'd be talking about the Wyatt family plus one guy, okay, taking on Taker and Kane and three other guys. Who's those three guys going to be, man? Wouldn't it be great to see Sting? Can you imagine? Oh my God. Put wrap your head around that, dude. Taker, Kane, Sting. Forget dream matches, these guys versus this guy. How about on the same team? Can you imagine that? Would that be monstrous? Oh my God, the roar that would get from crowd. Oh, dude, fans would pop over that every day, all day, twice on Sunday. Straight up, man. You know I'm right too. But as we said, Survivor Series come up on November 24th. A major event for the company with, and cross your fingers, everything goes extremely well, which we always want to, of course. But if Taker and Kane return by that time, they get 3 guys, and then you got the Wyatt family, and they throw another dude up there in the bunch. You're going to have a traditional 5-on-5 match. That's good, okay? And it'd be a great night and a great moment for both those guys and for the Wyatt family, of course, because we don't know how many more matches like this Taker and Kane have. And how many times they're going to be seen together, work together on TV. See what I mean? So it'd be big for everybody involved, especially for the company themselves. Now, despite what happens from here, there can be no doubting that WWE made the right move with the storyline. Very few can share the stage with Undertaker and Kane at the same time, and right now, only the Wyatt family fits the bill. Bray's on the right track with this, and now WWE must keep things moving in the right direction for him to get where they need him to be. I believe every word of that. You should too. It's good. Come on, give me a break here. It's good stuff. I know you love it. That's the Bleacher piece. Now here's what this leads into. This is a direct follow-up from my blog, tomclarkbr.wix.com/blog, plus a whole bunch of other symbols you don't need to know. It's not really your thing. But here's what that column led to on this website. Bray Wyatt achieves supervillain status in WWE. Straight up. I couldn't be happier about him, man. He's come a heck of a long way since he's been there. He's always been a heel. Perfectly fine. But now, Bray Wyatt has reached the great and awesome level of super villain. He has, man. Let me ask you a question. Do you ever wonder, and I'm speaking to all you comic book fanboys out there, where are my people at? I see you. Don't even lie. I'm your leader. Trust me. Call me, oh Captain, my Captain. Ever wonder what life would be like if the Joker took down Batman? Imagine that. What if Lex Luthor managed to eliminate Superman? I'm talking about kill him. He's dead. He's gone. If Spider-Man went down to the Green Goblin, let's say the other way around back in the day, what would have happened then? That is where Bray Wyatt is right now. And he has never looked better. Never. Bray and his family carried The Undertaker and his brother off into the darkness. Kane and Taker, as we said before, carried away by the Wyatt family. Now, even though Taker's working just a few times a year and Kane's schedule's not what it once was, this is not about leaving a massive hole in the roster because of 2 main event guys being gone. Not just that. This is about the destruction of WWE's hell-raising brothers, the underworld's dark siblings. As we said, the underworld of WWE, that dark ethereal place where it's all black and demonic and whatnot. That's where these 2 guys hang out, spend the free time. And, Bray plays tennis there on the weekends. I mean, it's their realm. It's who they are. It's what they are. It's what they do. You know what I'm saying? But this is about the destruction of WWE's brothers of destruction, actually. Okay? And the dead man himself has faced every threat head on during the last 25 years, and he's always managed to overcome. No matter what they threw at him, he always managed to get back up. Even when it appeared he was down, he got back up. It's what he does best. Kane, by comparison, has never backed down from a challenge either. Despite which side he's been on, to test him is to test the devil himself, and very few have ever lived to tell the tale of that move. For 18 years, the Big Red Machine has thrived on pain and just how much he could inflict on everyone in his path. And now, both those monsters are gone, and guess who did it? Little old Bray Wyatt. The fact is, Bray struck at the right time. WWE Creative got it right. Don't even play. Taker was down after losing his bitter rivalry against Brock Lesnar Hell in a Cell. Beaten. He was a beaten man. Kane was baited in by the family on the Raw after, as Wyatt knew that Kane would want revenge. He planned it perfectly. He took down two legendary characters with very little resistance. He's not only reveling his accomplishment, he's essentially taking their place. Try that one on for size. How many people want to see that? I love Taker. I love Kane. But dude, eventually things are going to have to start progressing forward. And as we said before, we've said a million times on the program here, Bray Wyatt is part of that natural progression. It's sort of, if you go back to the idea of getting credit, I often compare it to getting credit. When you're too young to get credit, they say, well, we can't give you credit. Why? Well, because you don't have any credit to get a credit card. Sorry. Wait a minute, what? I don't have enough credit to get a credit card. Okay. Well, how do I get credit? By having a credit card. Then give me a credit card. Dude, it makes you want to go cry in a corner, doesn't it? It's the same idea. It's the same idea here, man. Okay? And the idea is, how can you prove a main event guy is a main event guy? How can you take a guy that's not on that level and just put him on that level? Well, he has to prove himself first. Okay, makes sense. But how does he prove himself if you won't give him a chance to prove himself? Do you see what I'm saying? You want that guy, but he's not ready. Why is he not ready? Because you haven't done enough with him yet. Is it always the guy in question? Is it always his fault? Not necessarily. I think to believe that is to believe that everybody that's never made on the main event level, it's been all they're doing. I don't believe that. I believe that the timing has to be right. I think the stars have to line up in a certain manner, and I think WWE Creative has to be there with a good storyline, and booking has to be right. A lot of things have to fall in place. Not everyone can just go cut a magical work of art like Austin did at King of the Ring. You can't. Not everyone can sit cross-legged on the stage and drop the pipe bomb. It's not happening. You see what I'm saying? Not everyone is Austin. Not everyone is CM Punk. Bar none. Period. That's it. You can't even compare it. You just can't. Okay? So I don't believe that every guy that washes out as a main event star, he washed out simply because he wasn't doing enough. He wasn't working hard enough. He wasn't listening to the right guys at the right time. He was taking bad advice. He was too selfish. He cared more about getting himself over than putting his partner in the ring, I should say, the guy he's working with, his opponent. He didn't care enough about putting him over. I'm not saying, I don't think that's even possible. I mean, maybe in WCW, I keep going back to WCW because of the horribly mismanaged way things were run there. It was just terrible in the end, dude. And long before the end got there, let's be honest. But maybe in an environment like WCW would something like that happen. Okay, so they're a little off the mark, you know that, and I know that, but I don't think they're in dire straits just yet. But again, I think if you're going to have somebody that's going to fill that void, you got to give Bray a shot. But how are you going to prove him? Just start booking him in these matches, man. You see what I'm saying? You want Bray to fill the void. Does that mean that Bray's going to become the new Phenom? I never said that. He's not going to become the new Dead Man. I never said that either. What I am saying is you got to give him an opportunity somewhere at some point to get in there and to show what he can do. That's what the most important thing is, all right? But we go back to what happened when the Wyatt family beat down Taker and then later Kane on the night after and carried them both off. Bray Wyatt had a master plan. He carried it out to perfection and it worked. He is the villain of this story. And he actually won the day. The promo he cut on the November 2nd edition of Monday Night Raw was perhaps one of his best of all time. I'm going to say that right now. Straight up. On the November 2nd edition of Raw was one of the best promos that Bray Wyatt has ever cut. Bar none. Period. Okay? He called down the thunder of victory from his masterful move. Because the master plan worked. He called down the thunder. Fire erupted as Bray and his family stood in the ring. Fans got a glimpse of what life would, without the Brothers of Destruction, looks like. While Bray got a taste of more power than he's ever known in WWE. And I'm going to tell you something right now. When you give a heel a taste of power, and I mean a big, nice, juicy taste of power, try living with that guy after that. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. What happens is that guy loves it. He wants more of it. He wants more of it. He's got to have more. Okay? for a character like Bray Wyatt, who preaches control. See, this thing about a cult leader, when you have someone that is leading others whose intelligence level may not be what his is, they're not as clever as he is, they've lost their way, they're very susceptible to suggestion, they're very open to suggestion, to being led around with their hands held, as the Wyatt family are, okay? Then that guy has to be in control. He needs control all the time. He can't let control go for any second ever. Why? Because then it all comes tumbling down. He thrives on it. He has to be in control. He's the master. That's it. Everyone else is under him. Okay? The moment he gives up and out of that control, game over. That's why he can't do it. Okay? So the more power that Bray Wyatt tastes, the better that it tastes to him. The more power he has, man. It makes sense, yes? Here's the great part. This is what Bray's character is supposed to be. We've said this before, but it bears repeating. This is what Bray's character is supposed to be. This is how the show is supposed to go for him. He spent a long time on the mic talking about fate and control. Eventually, he had to either put his words into actions or he needed to stop talking. In other words, put up or shut up. No one wants him to stop talking, do you? If you said yes, shut up. You're the one who needs to stop talking. Troublemaker. But no one wants Bray to stop cutting promos. So the answer is Bray needs to start backing up his actions. He's finally been given the spotlight he's deserved for so long. As great as he is on the stick, he had to back it up, and now he has. Wyatt's vision of how the world of WWE should be is finally being realized. This should continue as long as possible, but it will come to an end soon. Taker and Kane will come back. Okay, again, we're talking about Survivor Series more than likely. The Wyatt family may or may not win on that match on that night, but right now, all that matters is Bray's ascension to supervillain status. The Eater of Worlds has killed 2 heroes, and he's never looked better. How many guys in the history of comic books can say they killed 2 top heroes? I'm not talking about alternate timeline nonsense here either. Don't hit me with DC Elseworlds or any of that crap. No offense to the fine writers that work to bring you that entertaining material all the time. Thank you guys. But who needs that? I'm talking about in regular WWE continuity. I'm talking about 2 guys with legendary status icons in their field. 2 of the best that company's seen. Certainly two of the best big men that company's ever seen. Don't sell Kane short. Don't do it. You're crazy if you do. Okay? But 2 of the best that company has seen, for sure. Being destroyed by one guy. Bray did it. Bray ordered his people to do it. They helped him do it. They're gone now. Isn't that something, man? That's a big deal. I mean, look at the spot that puts Bray in. That gives Bray more stroke than he's probably ever had. I mean, this is bigger than his feud with Daniel, bigger than anything he did with Dean, bigger than anything he's done with Roman. And all that's saying something, man. He's had some good feuds. He has. But he's not had this. The Brothers of Destruction at the same time. Oh my God, can you wrap your head around that? I mean, it's crazy. The door is wide open for Bray to make a huge impact. When's that impact going to come? WWE's main event stage. And we're talking about Survivor Series, November 22nd. Now, again, we're talking about wins and losses, and I know I keep coming back to this, but it's something I got to get out there because it bears repeating. It's worth talking about. Bray, at some point, has got to start winning. Now, for my money, the Wyatt family should win a Survivor Series. I don't care what combination of guys they face. Is it going to happen? Probably not. I mean, Survivor Series is being booked as 25 years of Undertaker. Now, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Be straight with me. You're going to have Taker do the job of Survivor Series when the whole event's being advertised and booked and promoted and sold to the crowd, to people all over the world as 25 years of Undertaker, and he's going to do the job at Survivor Series? No, sir. He could. I'm not saying he's above it. I'm just saying I think it's bad for business. 25 years of Undertaker, why would you have that guy lose? Make fans happy. Doesn't mean you got to make them happy all the time. You got to throw them a bone sometimes. But here's my question. When are the fans going to be throwing a bone for Bray? When's the public outcry going to be so loud that it's deafening for Bray Wyatt to go on a winning streak? Hey, to win one match would be better than nothing, right? I don't mean to be cynical about it. I'm just saying I like Bray. I always have. I think he's capable of big things and making some big money. That's my opinion. And as we talked about, this thing with Undertaker and Kane is a natural progression for Bray to move up the ladder. He has all the tools necessary to make a major splash and make some big-time major money. That's the goal for any guy in WWE, right? If you're just riding the pine, well, then you probably shouldn't have been a pro wrestler because you're not really doing much. You're happy with not doing much. Who wants to ride the bench in any sport or in any area of life? Don't you want to be the man? I mean, seriously. But Bray has always been meant for great things by virtue of his character alone. And again, we talked about the bizarre cult leader. The gimmick is not new in pro wrestling. Who's had it before? Kevin Sullivan had it. Raven had it. There's been a lot of other guys that's run it, of course. But they've got to be the two best examples of it the fans have ever seen. And when it comes to this character, talking about Bray Wyatt, and when it comes to him, and both men, both Sullivan and Raven had great runs, but when it comes to Bray, this character is something much more than what has ever been seen before. He brings it like no one else ever has. I mean, straight up. He knows it. And he embraces it. You know, what's the difference between a character and a gimmick? A gimmick is something you're handed, okay? You're a truck driver. Go make it work, okay? You're a plumber. Go make it work. You're a crazy cult leader. Go make it work. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying it was handed to Bray because it wasn't, but I'm just saying, a typical situation, you have, okay, here's the gimmick. It's handed to you, all right? And then what happens is you change that gimmick. You take it, you embrace it, you work on it, you do the best you can to flesh it out, to make it believable, to make it plausible, to make it relatable to the crowd, okay, where they can attach themselves to it. Then you begin to build your character. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it doesn't take that long at all. But if you're smart, you would take that character and evolve that character, okay, grow it from the ground up, brick by brick, which is what it's all about. Because you want fans to connect to your character. Because if they don't, they're not going to care about you at all. You're going to be out of a job before long, man. They're going to show you the door. I mean, you have to be able to connect to the crowd. Of all the guys in WWE locker room right now, I ask you this. Of all the guys in WWE's locker room right now, who has connected the crowd better than Bray Wyatt? And he's just getting started. He's been there, what, 2 years? 2 years, yes? Because the Shield imploded in 2014, around June, I think it was. And that they were on a roll for about a year. They were on a roll, maybe longer. Wyatt family came in after the Shield did, of course. Okay, and you know that's when we started having fun. That's when the new breed of guys came in. Okay. But Bray's not been there that long. I mean, he's had opportunities, but he's also had, and this is maybe the most important thing, talking about wins and losses, how they may or may not mean anything. They mean something in the long run for a guy like Bray Wyatt. I'm totally convinced of that. But getting him to this point, I don't know how much they meant. Whether it was a lose it or use it or lose it kind of situation, make or break. Because he's still to this point. They still have faith in him, obviously. Okay? The winning and losing, of course, is booked ahead of time. It's out of his control. He's just doing what he's told. And you can go a long way if you're talented and you do what the boss tells you to. Not all the time. Sometimes you work for vindictive jerks that have no business being in charge. But I don't know. I don't know if that'd be creative is like that. Not about everybody. You got to believe that the guy with the best idea gets the win. That's what my philosophy is. In several different key areas of my life. The guy with the best idea should win. Period. That's it. End of story. Bray's character is relatable. He can connect to the crowd. He can make them believe in who he is and what he is, supposedly. And he can do all of those things because he fleshed out his character, because he knows who he is. He embraced the role. He made it work. He did everything in his power to make it work. And it did. It went over like gangbusters, man. It works all the time. Bray Wyatt is one of the best. He is. And Bray Wyatt is going to be the best. Let me ask you this, and I'm going to pose this question to you because we're getting ready to wrap things up here in just a scoosh. But I got to pose this question to you. Just how big can Bray get? Really think about that thing. Think about it. Think about it long and hard. Are we talking about Bray Wyatt becoming one of the best in WWE? Is he capable of doing it? It's a legitimate question. What are you thinking? Because here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to throw this at you here. I think the moment you put a ceiling on a guy, or attempt to put a ceiling on a guy, is the moment that you begin to tie his hands. It's the moment that you begin to say, here's this guy's ceiling. He can't go any higher. This is all he can do. If I'm Bray Wyatt, if I'm any guy in the locker room that's being said about, I take that as a challenge. Fine, tell me I can't do something. I'll prove you wrong. Tell me I'm not capable of doing great things, and I'll show you I can. I think Bray Wyatt has just as much of a chance as anyone else in that locker room. And even more so right now because of the spot he's in, because of the character he has, and everything that goes along hand in hand with it. I think Bray Wyatt could be the top heel in that company. I also think he could be the top babyface in that company. I think he's fully capable of doing either one. And I think to put a ceiling on him, to say that he's just like a character actor, do you know what I'm saying? He's just a personality instead of a guy that gets over on every level. I think that's tying his hands. I think that's taking away his opportunities, and I think that's a tremendously bad move, honestly, because I think Bray has it in him to do great things. I've believed that for a long time. I still believe it right now. And despite whatever criticisms you may lay at WWE's door, and I know we all do it, I'm guilty of it as well, quite a bit, honestly. But they know what they have. They see what Bray can do. Now, you would like to think they see the same thing with Dolph Ziggler, and it's not working out just yet, is it? Oh, Dolph, don't get me started, bro. It's a whole other podcast for a whole other day, trust me. But I don't know, man. I just look at it, and again, I think that to tell Bray Wyatt he can't do something, or just to assume that Bray can't do something, is to limit him beyond belief. I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think that Bray is capable of big things. Am I talking Stone Cold Steve Austin big? I didn't say that. But I do believe that Bray can become the top heel for sure, and quite possibly even the top babyface. I believe that. But the guy's got to be given a chance first. This is going to be his best shot at it right here, as against Kane and Taker. This is going to be his best shot, because I'm going to tell you right now, between you and me, well, and everybody else, because it's not, I mean, it's an open podcast and it's free. But, okay, between you and me and everyone else, if Bray loses, and I don't care if he's not the guy pinned at Survivor Series, but let's say one of his guys is pinned, will Bray come out looking that bad? Can he recover? How many more times is Bray going to lose? Ask yourself these questions, man. It's important, isn't it? We got to know this. You know Bray's win-loss record on TV. It's there for the whole world to see. Go look it up. Okay? But how many of you out there are still going to care about Bray if he loses the Survivor Series? Aren't you patiently waiting something good to happen for this guy? And for you too. Don't you want to have fun? Obviously you do. Don't even lie. But for all that to happen, he's got to be given a chance. Okay? He's got to get over. We know he can. We know he's over right now. But I'm talking about getting over the main event level. Where if, let's say you handed the title to Bray tomorrow, Seth Rollins' title, by the way, and said, here, you're a top guy, run with it. Think they'd love that? Fans don't want that. And even the educated fans, like the highly educated fans, the guys that, study the business and in and out. I mean, even those guys don't want to see that. Because Bray's not ready for that. I'm not saying he can't do it. Don't put words in my mouth here. People, calm down. I'm saying that until such time as Bray is a feasible top contender for the World Championship, that people can imagine him winning the belt, and love him or hate him, can imagine seeing it. Until that day comes, he's not going to be one of one of those top guys. Again, if all you did was just drop the world title on him tomorrow, he might end up failing. People could turn on him. His stick could get old really quick. You see what I'm saying? It could happen. Anything could happen. But again, how do you know if someone's ready? Give them a chance. Bray Wyatt has earned this. He deserves it. He should have it. Let's hope that WWE not only allows him to have it, but does not stand in the way of it happening in the first place. Just assist him, and he can get it done. I'm a firm believer he can. If anybody in the locker room can, it's Bray Wyatt for sure. We will wait and see, yes. That's it, man. We're nearing the hour mark, and this is where we're going to take it home. We're going to go ahead and do our usual plugs for the podcast. Again, if you want to look me up, I'm on BleacherReport.com. I also write for the highly esteemed Camel Clutch blog. You can also find me on Sportskeeda and on my own blog at tomclarkbr.wix.com/blog. I'm going to start a charity fundraising event to buy my own domain name. Please, no amount is too small. Help a brother out, okay? Because I'm tired of giving out a stupid long address. So please send your donations care of Tom Clark. So there you go. But that's where you can find me. You can also follow me on Twitter, the Twitter machine, at TomClarkBR. Drop me an email, tomclarkbr@yahoo.com. You can also find the show on Facebook, Tom Clark's Main Event. Go check it out. Click the like button, and the cookies are on their way. I've been promising. I was told yesterday they're on the way. So go click the like button. You get a bag of cookies. I don't really know if that's going to happen, but it sounded good. But yeah, please go check us out. If you heard the intro to the show, you know that things sound a little bit different. There's a reason for that. The production company that me and a very good friend of mine started back when we were like 12 or something, we've been having it going for all these years as friends, and we are really trying to amp it up and kick things up a notch. So Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. There you go. And we've got more stuff on the way. What if I said to you, second podcast? Just let that stew for a while and see how you feel about it. Go follow us on Twitter at Boink Studios, man. We'll give you some more info if you'd like. And please, I tell you, go check out our Facebook page. We haven't posted anything yet. We haven't tweeted yet either. But if you go follow us, I'll say hi. How's about that? Listen, man, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. We do appreciate it as always. We're going to come back really soon on the main event here. Please be patient, and hopefully I can get back just as soon as I possibly can. Again, folks, this was episode number 36, The Rise of Bray Wyatt. I have been your host, Tom Clark. And yes, Tom Clark's Main Event is a Boink Studios production. So be sure to come back here next time for Tom Clark's Main Event.